Hi everybody, I'm Judy Saul, also known as Tie-Dye Judy. Today I'm going to show you how I do what I call the Nova pattern, which is concentric circles. First we have a dampened, clean shirt that we're going to start with. And I have my rubber bands here, which I'm going to be using to create the circles, and my die is all ready. So let's get started. What I normally will do is randomly place concentric circles over the shirt, and you can do either a single layer or a double, depending on how much work you want to go through or how random you want it. I'm just going to go ahead and double the shirt for this example. And what I do is I've got it on a little flat surface, and I kind of poke my finger underneath and pull a spot, and then bring my hands down to create sort of an accordion fold. And then I band up close to the middle of the fold and just get it to where the band is tight. And then I come down a little further and I go ahead and band again. I do try and keep away from having bullseyes over the chest for obvious reasons, just because I think it looks nicer if you don't. And I try and make the circles just kind of not in any particular symmetrical pattern. It's kind of nice to have them scattered around. And there's two things. You can either do a single dye bath with one set of circles, or you can band the circles, dye them, and then rinse and band some more and over dye with another color. I'm going to show you examples of both of those today. So I'm just putting probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 sets of circles on the shirt. It's a matter of taste. You know, you want to have something that's got enough of a pattern to where it doesn't look sprinkly or sparse. So I've got 3 now, and I'll put another one down through here. It's a very simple pattern, but I like the way it looks when it's done because it gives sort of a starburst effect. And on this particular example, I'm going to be using multiple colors on my dye bath, and that always ends up being very interesting because you don't know for sure where the color's going to go. Okay, one more should do it. Sometimes I like to do it on the side just to give it a little of an offset look so that you don't have mirror images front and back. Okay. One more and I should be ready. Okay, so what we have now is a shirt with 5 of the novas that are banded together. And what I'm going to do is just place this in a clean bucket. And I like to have it to where there's a little bit of scrunching going on. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I want the fabric that's unbanded to also create nice patterns when I put the dye on it. So now I'm going to put my trusty rubber gloves on so I don't end up with purple hands. Okay, now one thing I will mention, I keep track, you can't see me unless I bend down, I keep track of how much dye liquid I pour over. I'm doing this with a technique known as low water immersion dyeing, and I have not pre-soaked this in soda ash solution, so what I'm going to do is keep track of how much dye liquid I put in, and then when I mix my soda ash solution, I will put in 1 teaspoon of soda ash to a cup of hot water for each cup of dye liquid, and then another teaspoon for the water. So if I have a large project, I'll use maybe 1.5 cups or 2 cups of hot water and add a teaspoon for each cup of the liquid, the water, as well as the dye liquid. Okay, so I'm going to start off today with a little yellow, and that's about 1/3 cup of yellow. And what I try and do, and this is just me, you can do whatever you want, I like to kind of localize the colors a little bit so that I have some areas that are stronger with a color, and then some areas that have a little less color, because I'm going to over dye with 2 other shades now. And I'm rinsing this out in a bucket of clear water so that I don't have too much mixture going on. Second color I'm using is a light fuchsia. And I'm actually going to pour some of this back because I have a little more liquid than I had planned. So that's about 1/3 cup of fuchsia. And right now, if you can see this, there's a lot of yellow down here, a little yellow up here. I'm going to kind of over dye some with the fuchsia and then have some areas where there's more fuchsia and no yellow. I may stop short there because fuchsia is a strong color. So that's a little less than 1/3 cup. And the final color I'm going to be using is turquoise. 3 primaries, the ones that, you know, I started out using when I first started tie-dyeing back in 1997. That's what they gave us in the starter kit I got from Dharma Trading. So now I've got 1/3 cup of turquoise, and right now you've got yellow and fuchsia mixed together. So I'm going to over dye a little bit with the turquoise, and then I've got a nice mixture in there, and that's going to set for about an hour, and then I will add my soda ash solution that we just talked about, let it set for another hour, and then rinse it out. Now, I did this a while back. I actually did it with some fabric and liked it well enough I decided to try it on the shirt. And the colors I used, the dyes were a little older, but what I got was a nice mixture with blues, yellows, and some green, and a little bit of the fuchsia. I'm hoping today that the fuchsia is going to be a little stronger because it's a nice combination. So that's what I do for a single dye bath with my Novas. The next project is going to be with a shirt that I've already pre-dyed with a single color of turquoise, and I banded my Novas, dyed the shirt, and now what I'm going to do is create new bands and over dye with lapis, which is a beautiful vivid blue with a little bit of lilac tones to it. So again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Novas now, and I'm going to create Novas in areas that don't have them. Sometimes what this will do is allow for both colors. Right now we've got the Novas in white. Sometimes whatever I use to over dye with will allow those to show through. An example I did of this that I'm going to show you in a little bit, the lapis actually didn't allow too many of the original Novas to show through. They're faint. So something to keep in mind if you want to do multiple layers is to use a color on the second bath that's light enough to allow the original Novas to show through. And again, I'm just randomly banding here in areas that haven't already been banded, so that I get, because you get some really nice markings also from the dyes as they over dye, which I'll show you in just a little bit as soon as I finish this one up. This is a nice simple pattern, something that you can teach kids to do, something you can, you know, use for a quick tie-dye pattern where you don't have to do a lot of involved folding or tying or direct application. I did direct application almost exclusively for the first several years that I started dyeing, and about 4 or 5 years ago I started doing low water immersion and struggled with it for a while, and then I went to a forum online. If you Google Paula Birch, B-U-R-C-H, there's a forum out there, and it's also listed on my blog, which is hippiewear.blogspot.com. You'll see a reference to Paula Birch, and she's got some incredibly great instructions on her website for various dyeing techniques, which is, you know, how I got started doing the low water immersion. And I really love the results. So that's one of my primary methods of dyeing. And I'm doing a few more on this shirt than I did originally, just to add a little bit more pattern and interest. It's a very forgiving pattern, so play with it if you get a chance. And I think I'll put one last one over. No, I'm going to leave it. So we've got about 5, yeah. That's about right. And they're scattered about in areas that weren't done before. So now again, I have a clean bucket. I'm just going to lay this down in the bucket, just scrunch it around a little bit, and then put my gloves back on. Even though I'm pouring directly on here from a container and not touching the shirt after I apply the dye, I still try and be very careful. And this is approximately 1 cup of lapis dye, a real beautiful shade. If you haven't used this before, definitely think about it. Now okay, so I've got the dye in the bucket. I am going to go ahead and scrunch this down just a little bit, which is why the rubber gloves, it's always handy. Okay, and set that aside, and I will do the same thing as far as the measuring so that I can get my soda ash solution the proper pH balance. And what you will get, let me take the gloves off, what you'll get with a over dye is something along these lines, which has the turquoise showing through. The original shirt had several medallions that I had done that started out white, but again, the lapis is such an intense dye that it just pretty much obliterated them. I can see a little bit of a lavender up here in the corner, another one down here at the bottom. But it's just a fun pattern, and I do encourage you to give it a try if you haven't tried this before, because it's a lot of fun and you can get some really great results. So happy dyeing, and keep looking at my blog spot. I'm going to hopefully do some more of these videos soon. Bye-bye.